If we're being completely honest, nobody knows what marketing jobs are going to be like 5 years from now, but we are already seeing what's going to make some marketers more valuable than others. AI's made it way easier to create stuff like landing pages and reports and campaigns, but the value is never in that stuff. The value is in the decisions and the judgments and your own marketing strategy and processes that you have in your head and that you have from experience. So if you already understand that, you've probably stopped seeing AI as something that just makes a landing page or a report or whatever, and you started looking at it as something that extends your thinking, which is the way you should be thinking about it. Now, by the end of this video, you're gonna be able to look at your own marketing work, see exactly where your actual value is, and most importantly, be able to reuse your work and maybe even sell it to other people who are interested in how you think. If you're new here, my name is Rook. I've been a marketing strategist for over 10 years, and I'm exploring what marketing strategy even means in this new AI era. But without further ado, let's get into it. All right, let's jump straight into it. So when people are using AI for things related to marketing, it always starts with the end thing that they're trying to do. So let's say these are like 3 end things people want. Let's say people say, I want AI to help me create a landing page. Or they say, I want it to help me create a report. I need an analytics report or like a content report or whatever. Or they say, I want AI to help me do a content like first draft, like give me a first draft of the content. But these are where you end, it's not where you start. Because if you think about what an experienced marketer is doing, this is the end product. But how do they get there? That's the part that we're going to talk about today. When it comes to marketing, the real value is in the work behind what you do, not the actual end deliverable. And I know that can be confusing, so let me explain exactly what I mean. Let's say, for example, somebody's like, oh, I want my SEO to be better, right? So going back to what I was just saying, people say, I want SEO. But when they're saying I want SEO, what does that actually mean? They're saying, I want to have better search engine ranking position. But how does that happen? You have to do stuff like competitive research. And the key thing here that I really want you to grasp is everyone does these a different way. So if you're doing SEO keyword research, you're looking up search engine positions, you're looking up competitive research on where people are ranking and all that stuff, you could use Moz, you could use Ahrefs, you could use keywords everywhere, all these free tools. Everyone has their kind of special sauce, and that's the part that I really want you to grab. So you're doing competitive research, and then you're doing a whole bunch of seeing where people rank. And then based on where everybody's ranking, you start making your SEO plan. But look at all the steps that it took you to go there, and keep in mind how every marketer would approach this problem that they had differently. And I know this might be a little weird to grasp, so let's look at a couple more examples. Next up is somebody saying, oh, I want a campaign. And it sounds very simple on the surface, like just make me a campaign, but what happens behind the campaign? There's usually some kind of strategy of audience research. There's usually a whole bunch of collecting different sources so you understand what this audience is looking for and what they even want, and just understanding them very deeply. And then after you do all this audience research, it's usually saying, what are the insights that we found? And then after you go through all the insights, you're going to put it into a report, or depending on how big your marketing team is, some kind of campaign brief. And then from the campaign brief, and maybe you have more steps, maybe you have less, but you get what I'm saying. From the campaign brief, now you have campaign messages. And this is the part that people usually understand, because the messages are what goes in front of people. The message is what's in your reel, the message is what's in your tweet, the message is what's in your video, the message is what's everything, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. But the way you got to these messages was by doing all of these steps one by one by one by one. And again, every marketer might do these steps differently. Let's look at one more example. So for this example, I want to talk about, what if somebody says they want an analytics report? I want an analytics report. I just want to see. So that might mean different things to different people. If you're talking to someone that's at a high executive level, they probably want to see all the numbers and figure out what the story is up front in the report before it gets broken down. But if you're talking to someone, I don't know, who's more junior, they might want just the raw numbers and they just want to see what it is. So analytics report, first thing is you're probably going to gather data. And the way you do that, it depends on the data sources you have. It depends on what you want to connect. It depends on, do you have some private data? Do you have some public data? Do you have everything in one place that you could connect? Everybody approaches it differently. And then after you have the data, you're going to say something like diagnose, or maybe like you're like synthesizing instead, because you want to synthesize all the data, go through it, answer questions depending on who you're making the report for. You're customizing all of it. You're not just grabbing data. You're saying, what does this data mean to my specific audience or audiences? But then after all that, you are finally at your analytics report. So now after you did all that, you made it back up here. And now that you made it back up here, you have the report, the thing that the person asked for in the beginning. But most people aren't thinking about all this stuff that happens behind. And more importantly, everyone does this differently. There's no one way to do it in marketing. And now I want you to pay attention to what's actually happening here, because this next concept is the most important one that I'm going to talk about in this video. And if you grasp this next one, I promise you are going to be much better positioned for the future of marketing and AI. This one's really important. So there's a reason I explained all of that, because you needed to understand. This eraser is terrible. I need to use a different one. So there's a reason I explained all that, because you need to understand what I'm about to explain here. So we start off with the thing that people want, the problem. This is I want a report, I want a landing page, I want an analytics report, I want a content strategy. It's the thing people want, right? So what we're going to do is number two. Now, like I kept saying over and over, everyone has their own process. So no matter what it is, step two is going to be the process. Whether it's the SEO tool you like, the SEO tool you hate, the SEO tool I like, whatever, the way I put reports together, this is kind of your special sauce that you're going to go back to and kind of lean on, right? Next up is the output. So you get some kind of output after you put your whole process into place. After the output, what happens? You see what the output was and you say, this was good or this was bad. And this is where you learn and improve. So you're optimizing this output now. You see, we're going in a loop. We're going in a loop on purpose because this is really big. So what happens after you learn and improve? You rerun. So you run the landing page thing again and you say, all right, I put my process in place. This was the output that we saw. This could be a lot better or this could be a lot worse. So what do we want to do? And we want to rerun it. And then after that, you start again at the problem. So what that means is next time somebody comes to you and says, I want a landing page, you already solved this before. And now you ran it through this loop, you found problems, you found holes in it. And what happens after you do this 5, 6, 7, 8 times? Obviously, it's perfect. Whether you have your landing page loop, start with, let's say you did audience research first and that worked really well the second time. You didn't really do that the first time. So then you saw the output and you said, wow, because we added the audience research, this output is way better. So then you learn more. And then you say, well, we could have done more audience research on Google, or we could have done more audience research on Reddit. I'm talking about audience research. My last video about marketing and audience research with agents, you should definitely check it out. But we're talking about maybe we should have done more audience research in different places, so on and so forth. And you rerun it and you do this again and again. And the reason why this is extremely important, if you're not going to listen to anything else that I say in this video, I want you to listen to this. Now that we have AI agents in the fold, running these processes as a marketer, these loops already exist in coding. I'm going to just write the word because this is very important. Actually, I should write marketing loops to be very specific. These are marketing loops. These actually kind of started in coding, but they're starting to get popular in marketing because you're able to compress your own skills in your own categories and turn them into assets. And in a second, I'm going to talk about what happens when you turn them into assets. But I also want you to start thinking about marketing like this because you can package it in an agent. And then after you package it in an agent, let's talk about what happens after that. Because it's also very, very importante. Muy importante, parce. So now you have your custom process. Let's call it your SEO process or your landing page process or your analytics process, whatever it is. You're starting here, like with the ask. Whatever the people are asking you for, You start there. People asking me for a landing page, analytics report, whatever, you get it. So all you do is go in your bag and you go grab your process that I kept talking about. And after you have this process, you've ran it through a loop a few times and it really has your own sauce on it. If you're a marketer who really knows what you're doing, this is going to be extremely valuable. Extremely. Do you know why? Because you could use it so many different ways in this future that we're heading towards. Let's say, for example, you want to package it and you want to sell it. So let's say you just know how to do local SEO for restaurants really, really well. You've done this thing, you packaged it, you've seen it work for other restaurants, and guess what? Now you can package it up and sell it to other restaurants. Why? Because it works and you know what you're doing and it's all in one package. All they have to do is plug it into their agent and play, and it's going to work. But what else can you do with it once you have it, right? You can hand it off. And you can give it to someone else on your team. Maybe somebody's more junior. Maybe you're trying to teach someone something. You could just hand it off to them and it will just run. And the obvious one is if you do have an agent, you can also just give it to your agent. It will run it by itself. You use it over and over. And that is the last thing, is the reuse. Because you can just continue to reuse this thing over and over and over. It's yours. It's your information. You protect it. You decide who it goes to. And if I'm being completely honest, I think this is going to be a bigger part of the future than most people realize, because we already know that these things can be packaged and we already know if they work. Obviously, people still need help with marketing. So I don't know, what if the ghost of David Ogilvy was to appear today and say, hey, I made a copywriting skill. You could buy it for $10 and you could apply it to all your stuff. And let's pretend that we knew here in 2026 that David Ogilvy was the master copywriter and he was just selling a whole bunch of stuff. Obviously, you'd want to buy this. If it was a good price, you would absolutely buy this. And I think people are kind of sleeping on this. I think that is a bigger part of the future than people think. But the biggest thing with all this, and my final point that you need to see, is after you're doing all this, you are not the bottleneck anymore. You can no longer be the bottleneck because you could sell it and now people are using it. You can hand it off and now someone else on your team is using it. Your agent's running it by itself. You are reusing it anytime that you want. It's not stopping you from doing things, and it's actually freeing up your time because your process has already been packaged and you know that it's running the right way because you created this proven process a long time ago. I think this is a huge concept, and I don't know how more people don't see this or understand it yet, but obviously I'm making this video because I'm betting that I think this is going to be a really big thing. And I think once you understand it and you start doing things this way, you will understand a lot more. So if I had to leave you with one thing to remember, it's that the outputs are just those, they're outputs. But you need to keep track of the processes that make those things happen. And that is what's going to separate the bad marketers from the good ones in the future. And the reason why it's exposing people is because if you don't know how to take that process step by step, replicate it, and you could even give it to someone else if you want and it still would work, you're not going to stand out as a marketer in the future. I'm just being honest here. Now, if you want to see a real version of this in action, one thing that every single marketer needs to do is keep track of an audience and an industry. And if you want to see exactly how that works using AI agents, I went through it step by step in this video that you will definitely want to check out next. My name is Rook. I'm just getting started here on YouTube. So if you like this video, you will definitely like the stuff I have coming up. So don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.